I suggest that you just, tell your story like you usually do, and then Logan can pass along a couple of questions until you're tired and want to leave.
Well, I did. I wasn't planning on telling that story. I just thought I was coming in here just to have a little
Oh,
conversation.
that's fine with
But
me. That's fine with me, bro. This is up to you and Logan. I don't want to direct it.
Yeah, this is your space, Chris, however you want to do it. I mean, you lead the way, we will follow.
I just come in to chat with you guys. Yeah, this is all new to me. I've never been on Twitter Spaces, and honestly, I've been on the road for 12 weeks living in a suitcase. And I got home Thursday night about midnight, and I'm home for 2 weeks, and then I'm going again for probably 4 months of travel. And so I just love hanging out. This, gets old telling the story, and that, but I don't mind answering questions. Would be a lot better.
Well, so you
Okay, cool.
you had a really interesting experience on Beyond Skinwalker Ranch episode, and the show showed you being wired up with an electroencephalograph or whatever, and notice an orb, and them getting recordings on us. Man, that was so interesting. Why don't you tell us a little about it, please?
Well, yeah, that was wait till this year. We got two more episodes coming. We've already filmed them, and the series started this month, the 6th, I think. And I'm not sure when these episodes will air. I imagine one will be the last show of the year. That would probably be filmed in the Florida Everglades. The first one that comes out, maybe, I'm not sure, but it was filmed in the Monroe Institute. So this year we're going to kind of unveil that thing, and I can't say a whole lot about it. They'll probably hang me until it comes out. But last year, that all started because of my participation with the Monroes. They're studying. I wrote about it in the last chapter of my book, studying consciousness with them, and they brought out their scientists brought out these EEG caps that you wear, these newest kind out. They had these new technology in, and they couldn't get them to work. I kept messing with them with somehow my brain waves threw these things off. They could take them off of me, and I was still transmitting the signal to their computer screen, only on one side. So what they did is the History Channel thought it'd be good to take that experiment to the television. And they came here on a Monday. They stayed here for 7 days. We filmed for six. The first night they were here, I think we filmed 35 orbs, all documented with UFO data. None of them anything known. The AI technology, ruled them all out as any terrestrial, anything. And so all week we had that. We were doing quantum entanglement experiments, and you know, a couple hundred miles away. And it's very successful at it. So last night, the producer said, "We need to try something different. I don't know what else we could do." So to prove that it's not necessarily tied to your property, they're in search of the whole Skinwalker series is about a place, a ranch, a land, a haunted house, a haunted triangle, crossroads, or something. But on my case, it's about a person. And so they took me to the Cape Fear River, 20 miles away, a different location than I'd have ever been. And so they brought in Dr. James from New York, the neuroscientist, his PhD in neuroscience. And they were under a picnic area, illuminated with monitors and cameras pointing at that, monitoring my brain. So I was about 40, 50 yards away, sitting in the back corner of the field in a little beach chair, one that sits real low to the ground. Because it was so cold, they had a heater up over me, so they had to set me low to the ground, about a foot off the ground, one of those, hard chairs to get out of. So here I am looking up, three cameras pointing down, And I just gave thanks. I started silently. I don't do this out loud. So I just started thinking thanks to the phenomenon for allowing us to film literally hundreds of orbs all week. And I said to myself, let's change it up. If it would be their will, let's appear at ground level. And I was under the rules that if you see something, just point. You can't talk because you'll mess the brainwaves up. So just be real quiet. I said, just point. Don't say anything. Don't move your face. Just try to be just point. So here I am with all these cameras pointing down at me. When this orb appeared up way up high, I could see it looking up. And they're all looking down at me. And this thing comes out of the sky all the way down to about 8 foot off the ground and stops. So I'm pointing in the woods, right? I'm pointing. And this orb is coming right up through the trees, right up by this little building, plain view, solid lit. And when I started pointing, the people on the monitors recognized my brain waves just changed suddenly and was showing communication with this thing. And the cameras, they were all looking up in the air. I had to finally shout and say, it's in the woods. And so they filmed it when it flew right on by us. It flew within 40, 50 feet of us and weaved its way through the trees and disappeared behind a big oak tree. But we did the first time in history ever completed a conscious scientific study on camera with communication with this other world. And we proved it. And a friend of mine, John Alexander, has made that known many times that this was a new record. So yeah, it was pretty cool. We did it again on this next episode, but in a much broader, bigger, crazy way. They got 6 more hours in my brain scan. So I'm interested to see what all comes out with that.
Well, Chris, let me ask one more question before I get out of the way. And I don't know whether you're allowed to speak about this or not. And if you are not allowed to speak about it, just tell me you can't talk about it. But it is my understanding that you were at one location and there were people, let's say, from the government at another location, and you requested at their request, you requested that something show up in front of them, and that happened. Am I correct? And are you allowed to talk about it?
Yeah, I've done it. As you know, I told you that I had that thing that was happening with me when you were here, what, in 2018 or so. And I first learned I could do this in 2016. And we tested it just 2 weeks ago. I did it 3 weeks ago. See, I was in DC at a meeting there and then out to LA, but it was 3 weeks ago. I had 3 FBI agents up in Louisville, Kentucky, with their wives and a professor friend call me and asked me, could I make it happen for them out of the blue? And so I went out and told them where to look and what to think for. You know, you got to get your mind right. And all of a sudden, we started filming multiples, you know, the same exact objects here as we did 700 miles away. And then I started having these orbs appear ground level. Within 20 feet of me, they were flying by me. And so I told them to draw their attention to the forest, and they were appearing within 20 or 30 feet of them at the same time. So I would say we kind of shook them up a little bit.
I bet.
But we've done it in Houston, we've done it in Charlotte, we've done it in Louisville. I've done it many times in Washington, D.C., right up over Mount Weather, with scientists there with cameras set to the same f-stop as mine, the same exact timing. And we also record each experiment through WhatsApp live. So when I'm talking to the other camera guy, you can hear me talking on camera while he's talking. And within microseconds, split second, they're appearing here and there
That's amazing,
at the
Chris.
same time.
I'm assuming that they were at
Uh,
the government location at
Grenada.
Mount Weather.
Yeah, I've done it in Spain, 2,000 miles away. 200 people on a mountaintop, all recorded. They had media there, and it was this past summer. We successfully had it appear like 3 or 4 times in front of them. So it's pretty amazing that it can do that.
You know, I believe in you, brother. Okay, Logan, ask somebody else's question.
Okay, cool.
Okay, Justice, did you want to ask a question?
Yeah. I was just gonna. I'm getting some feedback. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yes, we hear you. Go ahead. And Logan, I suggest you mute your microphone while she's asking the question. And yeah, go ahead. Ask the question.
Okay. So I know, Chris, that you have definitely been through a lot. And especially when the experiences started happening, I'm sure that changed your life a lot. And when you started experiencing things, you discuss in your book, but for some of the individuals out here that haven't heard about how it has affected you, would you care to share your story on that?
I can tell you. And what was your name?
Justice.
I'm Angela, the one you spoke to, but my screen name is Justice. But yeah.
Okay, Angela. Well, honestly, when it came almost 18 years ago, I was desperate, sick, at the bottom, as about as low as a person can get. And I was crying out to the heavens, but I was past trying to figure out, any religion there. It was like, whoever's up there, I need help, crying out. And so these UFOs appeared, these big balls of fire. They weren't flying saucers, they were balls of fire. Of course, when they morphed, one did into this tic tac or egg shaped thing. But they took care of my Crohn's disease. I was very sick, and they healed me. And my experience with the phenomena has been on that manner. It's been positive. It's been healing. Every day, I'm getting people every day this week telling me that they've experienced a blessing. 3 this week. And it's people I'm involved with. So the phenomenon has always been that positive. It's the people that has been hard. It's the people, the community, the churches, and other entities that are critical. I mean, you see a light in the sky, they want to kill you. Who ever heard of such? There's something badly wrong here. And
Not to interrupt, but you are very right about that. There are definitely people who have fear of the unknown. And although you have your large group of supporters, especially here in our community and particularly Logan's space, this is a Chris Bledsoe love space, just so that you know. um, but but on, like you said, on the other hand, it is strange, how you have to put up with some of the harassment. And I don't think people in the UFO community know how much of an effect. Yeah, you've had positive experiences with your, I guess the phenomenon or UFOs or whatever, but at the same time, people don't hear about other things that you have to go through. and how strong of a person you have to be. So sorry to interrupt, but go on.
Not at all. Just say that, when you deal with the phenomenon, there's a push out there to make it look evil and alien, and all that's imagination. Nobody has a freaking clue uh, uh, about any of this, and I'll be the first to tell you. I don't think anybody on the planet sees it and interacts with it any more than I do, and that's a big statement, but it's true. And if it was evil, it would have eaten me 18 years ago. Instead, I'm seeing people this week that's cancers are gone, or they can hear again. They've lost their hearing, or many other things, and such. So,
Well, I know two people.
you
One
know,
of them got cured of all damage to their heart, and the other one got cured from all damage from their stroke. And the two of us are forever grateful.
And thank you for adding that, Science Bob. And Science Bob, we call him Science Bob, but he is not the only one in this community that has experienced healings from you. There's other experiencers, not experiencers, but other people who you have spoken with, and you've healed their family members, and to hear those firsthand accounts from people that actually have been through it with you, that says a lot. And I just want you to know that you are a role model, and we are very grateful to have you in our community. I know maybe on the outside you might get pushback, but just know that if you were here with Logan, Science Bob, or myself, we are going to make sure that you are not subject to any negative interactions if we can help it. So, but continue. I'm sorry.
no, I appreciate that, Angela. That means a lot because I have there's a lot of people out there that hide behind fake names, and they get great power when they're like that. If you were face to face with them, probably tuck their tail and run. But they get there on Twitter. I've never. I've opened a Twitter account 5 years ago. Suddenly, I'm being attacked by probably Intel. They're rampant on there, and so I just find my place. I don't want to hear it. And most of these people are uninformed anyhow. But I appreciate that. It means a lot, and it's not an easy thing to tell the truth because there's so many that wants to hide it, and that's the part I don't get. What's the grand prize for hiding lights in the sky? Um, the consciousness, the truth about this powerful connection that we all have. I mean, we can all connect. It's not just me. It's all of us has this in us. It's just a matter of recognizing a dog for a dog and not a dog for a turtle. In other words, when you learn what it is we're dealing with and you address it in that manner, then it tends to react better and interact with you a whole lot more. So that's just a little nugget there.
Well, I'm an experiencer too, and like you, I definitely have had very positive experiences. Initially, my first experience, I think I was shell shocked because it was something that I was not used to being around, and it was different than what you normally see in day to day life. But once first of all, would you say that you now have a relationship with your visitors?
That was established, when they first come or came in 07 when they came. It was like getting hit with a shotgun. They came and then left me in a whirlwind of wondering what just happened, but they kept coming back. They never stopped, and to this day they never stop. It's just keep coming, and it's become just like your own children or your own friends, somebody you would call and talk to. That's the way it is with me. I'm constantly talking telepathically. I don't know why. I can't understand it. The scientists are trying to figure it out, why my brain does what it does. And but it seems to connect to it. I'll give you a hint. We were in the Everglades this year, and this Earth to space frequency that they detected on Skinwalker Ranch, that they've made a big deal about. Well, they found that to be when this orb appeared. It started that with me, that same frequency, and they could turn the antenna away from me, and the frequency would drop to zero. And the minute they'd point it back at me, it was connecting to something above us. So I don't understand it, and it's something that we're working on. But it is like a relationship. I can't get away from it. I hear it and I see it and I sense it. And when I hear and feel and sense this, they appear. And Bob saw that when he was here. It was time, and we went out, and here they come. And last night I filmed Orbs ground level. I mean, big as bowling balls flying through the forest, and I got it on a brand new camera, high definition, that had a 200mm lens on it, and it was only 40 yards from. So some exciting things happening right now.
That's incredible. I wanted to ask you, Chris, what specific messages or like insights have the beings communicated to you that you feel are most important for humanity to hear?
Well, I don't talk a whole lot about that because I don't want to be perceived as some prophet or something on that order. My goal in life is to document it and share it with others and assist others making a connection, figuring out on your own what it is. Because if I told you it was this and this or that, it might bring more doubt and polarize people. But as far as a message, it's a positive message. It's a personal disclosure. I think you're never going to get it from the government. They just too much going on there with secrecy and policy and all that to get it to where they could even tell it to start with. So I think it's more on an individual basis. When you finally wake up, realize, wow, I get it. And then it starts appearing around you. So that's your disclosure. It's a one-on-one relationship with a living force around us that will guide you and work in your life and make amazing miracles happen, I can tell you. So it's just an intelligent thing. It's not like we're waiting on some star cruiser to show up with a ray gun and say, take me to your leader. I need some gas and supplies, right? It's not like that.
I just want to just real quick. For Zoom, there's like a time limit for free users for me. So I think at a certain point they cut us off. But just a heads up, if it disconnects, I'm gonna restart the call and call you right back. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So yeah. You have another question, Angela, or Science Bob, or?
Yeah, I actually have a couple of questions from people in the group. Our first one is from hold on just a second.
All right, I have one from Jay Just. She wants, can you elaborate on the 2027 date and just let people know what you were told about that, or what's upcoming here for people?
This 2026 date, it's amazing to see everybody just claiming this every day now. It's 2026, 2027, that year. Something's going to happen. Well, let me tell you, in 2013, I was given that date by the lady about a future time that a new knowledge would come and the world was shifted to 2026 date and Regulus and the whole star of Leo, what it meant, So I don't think it's a coincidence that the Sphinx is a lion and the constellation of Leo is where Regulus resides. So there's
Yeah, go ahead, Panda. Sorry.
Great, thank you. Here's another question from the community from B. She wants to know, Chris, have you had an fMRI done that confirms if you have the genetic caudate-Putamen anomaly that Kit Green and Gary Nolan found in experiencers and remote viewers? Any kind of white matter anomalies in your brain?
I haven't had the MRI, although they want me to do it, but I have given them about 8 hours of brain study that they definitely have found something there that's in what they told me is the 0.0001% of humanity. So whatever that means, it's very rare according to them. So, but I am supposed to do that.
That's terrific, because Gary Nolan's postdoc is no longer at Harvard. I'm glad that was arranged, Chris. I really am.
It's all coming, but we've done more extensive, brain studies, and what they have now, they have technology that they run these things in algorithms, and it detects a whole lot that the human, that we can't. These computers know how to do it. So a lot more of that'll come out on this new History Channel show coming up any time now, whenever it airs.
Great. Go ahead, Red Panda. Another one?
Yes, this is from Grant and James. They both were wondering if you could elaborate on who from the Australian Department of Defense you spoke with and like what they were interested in related to your experiences.
Well, I can't say who. I can say we chatted for several months, and they were calling me and they were digging into everything they could find out, from who I deal with to what it is I'm doing, and every aspect of it. And it's quite okay. I would think that every government would want to know. In fact, every government is studying this, whether they want to tell you that or not. And I have a lot of eyes on me from foreign countries to our own. And so, but I can't say who. But yeah, they're very interested. They were interested in the lady, and that's the thing I found out, that nearly everybody is, all of them, from NASA to the Air Force to all these organizations, CIA. It's all about the lady. The Catholic Church, they become interested, of course, and so did the DOD in Australia.
So, Chris, we have heard that you actually met the Pope. Can you tell us about that?
No, I didn't actually meet him, but there was a conversation happening. There was a ceremony that was held in my honor. I was very sick and unable to travel, and so there was this ceremony that happened on the premises of the Vatican that allowed a couple of friends of mine to enter into the Vatican archives, and so they actually put my picture in the as you enter into the archives, they place my picture inside the picture of the Pope. And then when they went into the archives, they put my picture in between the books of Galileo and Copernicus to stay there. For whatever reason, they did that.
Wow, that is amazing.
Chris, do you think that was in response to your contribution to the security for Pope John Paul when he visited?
It very well could have been.
A lot of people don't know that you were instrumental in foiling a terrorist attempt.
Yeah. Yeah, that was me. And then they got Joe McMonagle in after I gave him the information, and he confirmed it all. And so they shut down Philadelphia to all traffic. They shut everything down, made people walk across the Ben Franklin Bridge from the New Jersey side. And it was a big deal for was.
I just wanted people in this audience to understand why the government is taking you so seriously.
Thank you, Science Bob. That is like that detailed information you just provided. I did not have those details, and that really adds a lot of credibility to you, Chris.
Yeah, I have all the documents and the photos, and when he was giving them the tour and they were sending me pictures of orbs, that they were paintings, that pictures of paintings that they have over there of orbs and scenes like St. Francis of Assisi. They were telling me that to be careful around these orbs because they don't mean to harm you, but they can. Their energy can. Basically, that I was very sick with rheumatoid arthritis, and I mean extreme levels. Called a DA score was up there in the 70s, which is moderate to extreme. And the same thing St. Francis had, this what they call the stigmata, and they thought that it was caused by these orbs. In fact, they knew it was. And they just straight up told me, sent me these pictures, which I've probably shared on my Instagram, of these angelic beings coming out of these orbs and zapping St. Francis's hands. And he became, very painful, and he eventually died from it because of, they said it was nothing more than rheumatoid. That's what I was told by some scientists. But who knows? I don't know. It's all an amazing thing, all this. To go from a couple years ago, nobody believed it, to now everybody's starting to see it. It was one thing I predicted in 2019. I'd been hidden for about 6 or 7 years, not speaking at all. And I write about this in my book. In 2019, this orb comes out of the air and hovers about 25 feet from me for half an hour. I filmed it for 18 minutes. It gave me a message that trouble was coming, to lock their doors and store up and not come out till it's over, that they were going to wake the people up and allow us to see them in bigger numbers and allow me to film it and share it with others. Well, I got on the phone the next morning. I called Jimmy Church. I called Richard Dolan. All those people had been after me for years, and I never would go on their show. And so I did 10 interviews that year, warning that something was coming, trouble. And look what happened. This was Easter of 2019. Well, I assume COVID was getting probably turned loose in somewhere in that time frame, because millions died from it. And suddenly these orbs start appearing all over. And everybody knows it. The government knows it. All the governments know it. It's kind of frightening to a lot of them what's happening. They don't understand it, but it's coming. It's coming in bigger numbers, and all of us are going to know it. There ain't no hiding it.
Hey, Chris, you mind if I ask you something about something your son said? Let me just play a clip of what he said real quick.
In my head as I was describing it. William Tompkins, correct, right?
Yep, and he sat there at a little Starbucks, I don't know what you call it, patio, sitting outside.
Yeah.
My dad, Tom DeLonge, the Blink-182 guy,
yep,
and Bill Tompkins, and they sat there and they tried to shop my dad. Shop him as in win him over. And he sat there and he told my dad that Bill Clinton is a 9-foot-tall reptilian. He eats little girls. They slit their throat. They drink the blood and suck the life force out of their body. They zap us with these machines when we die so that they create this little hologram of a light. And when our consciousness goes to it, they reincarnate us back over. And the big secret that the government's been hiding, everybody, is that we're a cattle farm for lizards that live in caves, and the queen and the presidents are lizards. By the way, that's the same shit that everybody's reading online. So if they're saying it, and they're meeting my dad, who he is, been studied by the CIA and NASA and all this shit, and then he's meeting this guy and he's going to start spouting all this mumbo jumbo. It's obviously not true. It's just, it's an agenda. It's these.
Yeah. So, why do you think the government has this agenda to try to put this in your head?
To put what in my head?
This mumbo jumbo, like your son put it, about like the reptilians and stuff like that.
Well, you know, I don't know. I don't know if it is the government. I stand short of saying that. You know, the government's millions and millions of people, and most of them are your mom and grandma, mailman. But there are a few up there that you know, for whatever reason, I don't claim that being our government doing anything such as that. It could be coming from anywhere. Is it true? I don't know. I think this reptilian thing, if it's real, they're shapeshifters. But here again, I'm speculating. It's not in my swim lane. I stay out of that. The only thing I focus on is what's happening with me and how to communicate with it, what it's saying, and how to share it with you and others that come here. And amazing what's happening. Amazing how people are experiencing it with me. I mean, we just had 75 people on the beach down in North Carolina. It appeared, I told them it appeared 8:30, and it did. And in a huge way. I filmed it for an hour, and it coming up out of the ocean, sometimes jumping a mile up and down the beach, and flew right over our heads. And so it's
do you think there's other people out there like you that are experiencers that have like similar connections as strong as yours, you think?
Well, I'm sure there should be. You know, I don't know that. It's there again, I'm speculating. I try to stay away from just the speculating and stick to what I do know. And I don't get out and about and study others a whole lot. I do know what the government says or these scientists are saying, and they're like, I'm in the 0.301% of whatever's happening with me. So that's a pretty small amount, I would think.
Yeah, that is. It's pretty interesting. Hold on, we got another question here from Science Bob. Go ahead.
Yeah, Chris, is it right to say that after you had, when we were together and after it, you had really bad rheumatoid arthritis? I mean, you were really in pain. And isn't that gone now? And don't you attribute it to the entities you're interacting with?
Yeah. And there again, 2019, when this orb came out of the sky, it was a being. It wasn't. It was an orb. These orbs are the beings, right? They come out of you see this orb flying. If it ever flashes, they step out of these orbs, and now the orb is inside this tall, translucent being. But yeah, exactly. And
I just don't know of anybody but you, my brother, who's ever been actually cured of rheumatoid arthritis. Thank you for answering.
My doctor told me at December. I started getting better immediately, Bob, after that Easter meeting. And remember, that was 12 years. That was told a secret by somebody in high up places that he told me, said, Chris, at the end of 12 years, magic's going to happen with you. Everything's going to turn around and you'll be like the story of Job. That's what he told me. He said, we don't know why that is, but we do know 100% that everybody they've ever studied, after 12 years, magic began to happen. And 2019, January, was 12 years, and magic began to happen with all my children and grandchildren and jobs and big everything in their lives. Homes just started happening, just popping up, and magically my health started getting better. And I went from a wheelchair, when you saw me in January of 2020, in San Francisco. I was still, rolling around in a chair if I went anywhere, or on a cane if I walked 10 feet. But magically after that, I just started getting better. And my doctor told me in December I had the best blood work he'd ever seen. They don't even know what's happened to me. They had 3 doctors looking at me trying to figure out how I'm on 0 meds from $27,000 a month. I was on all these high dollar medications, these shots at 6 or 7,000 a pop. I was giving myself one every week in the stomach, and I'm off of everything except for one $4 a month pill called Plaquenil, and I don't know if I need that. So it's been a blessing, it sure has, Bob.
And you deserve a blessing.
Angela, go ahead, Angela.
Okay. So I'm gonna try and make these questions quick, but I have a question from Boggs Parsi and one other person. But before I get to their questions, I wanted to ask you, so on behalf of the UFO community, there are so many people who love and support you. And after hearing about your situation with, these negative people, and or anything else, is there anything that people in the community could do to support you and help you with anything?
Well, just spread the word. I appreciate that, Angela, and where the question came from. We just need to support each other and spread the word. This book that I wrote has turned out to be something pretty amazing. It's blown me away, and the response that I'm getting. Let's just say that there's so many people reaching out. I've gotten thousands of emails I can't even get to. I've responded to. It's just overwhelming. But people are telling me they're seeing the phenomenon. Read the book. It made them know it's real. Once you know it's real and you get that doubt out of your brain, that's what holds us back. The doubt is an old saying in church that prayer is the key to heaven, but it don't unlock the door. It takes faith to do that. You got to know it, and it's not a belief. When it becomes a knowing to you, and without a doubt it's real, then this phenomena will interact with you. And I'm having that overload of people writing me, telling me that, and how it changed their lives, how they were atheists, now they believe in something greater. And, and so it's definitely creating a change in consciousness. I did an interview down in LA this week, and I can't say who, but I would say it was a really big one, and it had some pretty big names involved. And while I was in there, my wife was getting a tour of Howie Mandel's studio. That tells you kind of the area that we were in. And one thing the people said was this book needs to be read by everybody. And so I don't know where to go, but I think that is creating a change in a shift in consciousness for those that that read it, because you get more of a human story than some military guy, whistleblower that said, I saw all this and I interviewed 40 people and they told me. There's a difference in that, and seeing the evidence and hearing the testimony and seeing the videos and so on. So it's definitely a movement happening.
I'd like to go back really quick to the statement your son made about Tom DeLonge telling you were dealing with reptilians. Do you know if that's the view held by Lou Elizondo and Hal Puthoff, who were his close associates at that time?
No, I don't necessarily think that. And I don't know that Tom believes that completely. Maybe he does. But then again, you know, in this world of UFOs, everybody thinks in a speculative manner. And I have to when it goes beyond what I'm experiencing. And so, you know, I can't say that they actually believe that. I think that they've probably stated that. But Hal knows. I'm friends with Hal and all those guys, and they know it's far more complex than anything we can perceive. I mean, think about this. How, let's say where you are, you're in New York right now, and I'm in North Carolina, and we walk out. I tell you, just go outside and look to the west, and about 30 degrees off the horizon, this is going to orb's going to appear right there and come over your head. And I walk out and I look to the west and I ask it to come, and poof, it appears in front of me, and I film it, and it appears at the very exact same second, to the 10th of a second in front of you. What is that we're dealing with? Think about that. This is quantum entanglement. They spend billions of dollars to smash an atom underground in a big thing that takes thousands of people to do it. And here we're doing it free, right outside where you can film it. But what is it? What is it that's that powerful that can affect you 2,000 miles away and me at the same time, at the same second? It's unbelievable how complex this thing is. But I look more like the air around us is like the Ethernet, like a living internet that our brains can tap into once we figure it out, and access this information and see remote view the past and the present and the future. It's all possible, and we're at the infant stage of learning exactly that it's there, much less how to use it. So this is all part of a new awakening that's coming to humanity.
All right. Justice. I mean, Angela, is it your turn? I think it's your turn, right?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask a few questions from the group. Like I said, you have a lot of support in this community, whether you know it or not. You may have had negative experiences in the past with Twitter, but I am sure, like, if you knew how much everybody loved you here, you would be so amazed. You should just pop in on Spaces anonymously just to find out. So my question from Boggs, he wants to know what you think about the hijacker effect.
Hitchhiker.
You are so correct. I didn't look at my email and just was like, I've been working 12 hours. Yeah, you were so correct. Thank you for correcting me.
No problem. And I can tell you from being around him and leaving, the hitchhiker effect is real.
It is real, and it happens. And I can tell you, I hate to say the word I, because I never use the word I don't want it to sound like I'm talking about myself. But I do know that there are certain individuals that I've willed it to go with them, and it does. And if I don't focus on that, it don't. So there's a lot of doing in that, not just something that happens natural, but it comes through that relationship that I've developed with these intelligent beings. They're just like, these magical beings that are spirits that can hear every thought you have. They know what you're going to say before you say it. They know where you're going to look in what direction before you look. It's that amazing about this thing. And so, yeah, it will follow you home, but it won't everybody. It's all according to if you accept it, that you know it's real and you're not afraid of it. If you're afraid, it'll tend to leave you alone. It don't want to mess your free will up.
Hey, Chris, I know that you are very close to the people at the Rhine Research Center. I attend the Psychic Experiencer group monthly there, and I can tell you, like, just to support how credible you are. Every meeting, they do not miss a chance to brag about you and, share stories about their experiences when they were present with you. And they talked about the orbs following you guys to the beach. And I just want you to know, so from the research center, they openly speak about your experiences and their shared experiences with you and how much, they admire and respect you as a person. So I just wanted to add that before I went to the next question. Let me ask this question so people can get a chance to get their questions in. The next question was from Parsi. He said to let you know how much and how grateful he is for you and your bravery. And he said that, your bravery actually helped him to speak his truth. Percy is an experiencer. He's started, seeing orbs and a lot of experiences on a very regular basis. And then even helicopters, I guess, flying over his house. So he definitely wanted to say, that he was so appreciative and that it was, due to you also that helped him come out. So he wants to know, could you please ask Chris why so many of us are starting to see orbs worldwide, and if he thinks they are one species or many? And he said that his come to him as the form of an owl, owl-headed avians.
Well, Percy, right? Tell him I appreciate that. And remember, I just went through this Easter of 2019 when COVID came. Before it came public, this beautiful being that I filmed for 18 minutes hovered 25 feet or less from me and gave me this message about the warning and a lot of other things. And I'm on the record. I've been on many interviews talking about it back those, and long before COVID came out, I was talking about this trouble coming and what the being told me. And it said that there's trouble coming and that they don't like deception. They don't like the suffering of mankind. They don't like any of that. And they're going to wake the people up. And they told me then they were going to start appearing around the world in large numbers, and they were going to let me film them with witness and with camera. Well, I didn't even own a camera then. I had nothing but a cell phone.
You had broken cameras.
Yeah, I do. And somehow or another, I've got a whole arsenal of cameras now, a whole lot of them, and as good as fine as equipment. And it was all given to me. And I have a digital database where I've been doing this research since then. And the sheer number of interactions, if I showed you this data, to where I go out a couple of nights a week, sometimes 2 or 3 nights. Sometimes I don't go because it might rain for 2 or 3, 4 weeks. But on average, I'm in the thousands every year filming videos. It equates to 15, 20, 25 videos every time I go out at night. And it's not, do I go out and not film anything? It used to be that way. But now it's pretty much when I walk out, they're waiting and they're eager to let me film them, just like on the History Channel. I mean, we actually are filming these things on the History Channel. And before, it was the most elusive thing on planet Earth to even get us, you got the ghost hunters for 25 years. They're in all these jails and places and filming outside, inside, and they got one little dust bunny on a whole hour episode with 8 cameras rolling all night. They were really doing something. And now it's like, I've filmed orbs big as bowling balls 40 yards away. It's going through the trees with a high definition camera last night. And this is like a pretty common thing now. It's just ramped up. And I think it's going to continue to ramp up in a way that everybody is going to get a chance to see it and learn it's real and change our world paradigm. Everything we ever learned is about to swap on its head. And everything these academics are teaching, they're going to have to reassess what it is they were told or trained or that they're pushing. The atheists are becoming not so much atheist anymore. Man, it's just time to wake up, and that's what's happening. And the phenomenon is pushing it. Remember in World War II, when we were on the brink of, all these lives were being killed and people suffering. These orbs were flying about around these bombers going into Germany. They were off their wingtips. They were on high alert. But I don't think it was the time then. Now they're on high alert, and it's a whole new ball game. It's a whole new time, and there's a big shift coming, and there's no stopping it. And so I just think everybody's going to learn the truth between now and the next 2 years.
I remember the two you and I saw. Man, those things were huge. They were 40 feet across and just above the treetops.
Yeah, and it's like that. It seems like the closer they come, Bob, the smaller they'll get. They'll be big as a Volkswagen at 100 feet up or 100 yards up. But if they come flying by you face level, like we were in the Everglades, and we had orbs big as your fist flying between the cameramen's faces. They filmed this. And so it's like to get smaller, and maybe that's to their concern about their radiation or something harming
I
us.
agree
But
with that.
yeah,
I agree because the amount of radiation they'll put out will go down as their surface area goes down. As the smaller they get, the more protected you are. I believe it.
yeah. Well, I have them in my house quite a bit, and they'll be about the size of your fist, and they make electrical buzzing noise. It sounds like electricity. And I was sitting in my chair recently, and I live in a little cabin. Bob can tell you, my cabin is only 800 square feet, and it's small. It's a little cabin on a pond, and there's a private gate coming in. So, but these things are floating around inside the house. I stood up and went outside. I told my wife I'm going out to see if it's cloudy. If it's not, I'm going to film. If it is, I'm coming back in. Well, it was, and when I come back in, she said, when you stood up, and our chairs are 8 foot apart, we face one another, with a couch in between. But this green orb, about the size of my fist, appeared right over the arm of where I was sitting, about 6 inches above the arm of the chair, and sat there and buzzed and buzzed. And she heard it before she saw it and looked up. And then it kind of popped, and it gave off this green flash of light throughout the house, and then it disappeared. But we see these quite a bit, and it's always here. It's a thought away. It's in our head. It's not something we got to, wait for to come from Pleiades. It's right beside you at all times, and it's just in our head. We manifest this stuff by connecting to it, and I think that's something we're all going to learn to do.
Well, I mean, Lala and I saw a huge one out back last night, and it showed up on our security cameras. Anyway, Red Panda's got a question.
Great. There's a lot of people in the community who want more information about the lady. So, based on your experiences, Chris, what's your understanding of who or what the lady is, and maybe possible connections to Hathor, the White Buffalo Lady, Amun Ra, and then also, why do you think so many intelligence people are interested in your connection with the lady? What do they try and learn from her, and stuff like that?
Well, the common thing I've heard and I've seen, the common interest is that they know she's real and always has been, and that she comes to Earth and she makes her announcement a lot of times when she does. It's like the kids of Fatima. When she came there, they the little children were telling the neighborhood, I met this glowing little woman, and they made fun of them and began to give them a hard time. And what did the lady say? Well, tell them all to come out on October 13th, and we'll just show them. And so she announced her appearance to 80,000 people. And I think she's going to do that again. I wrote about that in my book, that she's coming back. And my desire to go out in the desert or somewhere in a remote place to film is fastly becoming a reality. And but to me, she came at me as the wind. That was the physical her. The wind blew me over, and this translucent bull came right over my head. And I could see the stars up through this thing. And it's crazy of all. I was mind blown. I was in contact in the desert this week and was meeting with Robert Grant, and Robert mapped the pyramids with this radar technology. And I had these 3D Apple headsets on, these virtual things. And he's discovered inside the king's chamber through this camera, a special LiDAR or whatever it is, that there is a depiction of the human DNA symbol and the celestial bull, along with quite a bit of other things. The Alpha and Omega symbol, which is a Christian symbol or a Hebrew symbol. Even throughout the Bible, where here it is, it's engraved on the sarcophagus, that box inside the king's chamber. And so there's so much we don't know, but I can tell you they take high interest in her and what she has to say.
Go ahead, Panda.
Nope. Pause. That was the end of that Zoom call. We gotta start up another one. By the way, do you hear feedback on my mic right now?
No, it sounds great.
Okay. Yeah, there was this. I guess there was feedback happening before.
Now
Well,
the
maybe like
feedback just started.
Yeah, you know what that is? Because so I have my phone hooked up or set up next to my mic that I'm using, and so that way he can hear you guys talking. But it decides to turn the mic on its own for some reason. It keeps doing it. I keep turning it off, and it keeps turning itself back on. Some kind of weird ass glitch or psyop or something. But anyway.
You're doing great, Logan. It's awesome, bro.
Yeah, great questions. Oh shit! So it's it's telling me your free meeting just ended. Please wait 9 minutes before starting a new meeting. So I have to wait 9 minutes. Maybe we can call him on the phone. Or he can have like an intermission to get something to drink or something.
Logan, do you have a buy me a coffee?
Can you send me a link?
No, because it won't let me start up a new meeting for like another 9 minutes on the free version. So I have to wait 9 minutes before I can start up a new meeting to send you the link to that. Oh, sorry. So,
Let me ask if he's willing. If it's not, we can just shut it down.
Buy me a coffee, Panda. Oh, see, it keeps turning itself on. What the fuck? What a shitty fucking app. But
To the deep state.
That's right.
oh, you know what it is? I just realized what it's doing. So when I hit the unmute button on my computer, it also unmutes the mic on my phone at the same time. That's weird. I've never seen that before. But yeah, so turn that off. You said, do I have a buy me a coffee? Buy me a coffee is like a what's that? It's like a donation thing.
Yeah.
No, I have a Cash App that's on my bio. If anyone's finds value in this and wants to donate to me or to anyone here tonight, I guess. But we're really fortunate to have Chris. So thanks for handling him so gently, Justice. Was he like even up until this last minute? Was he still having doubts or like second thoughts about doing this?
Yeah, actually, literally right before you guys set up the Zoom call, I think, up to that point, he was getting a little bit like cold feet, because I guess, the disinformation agents obviously had warned him about Twitter space, but I'm so glad that he decided to come because
I tell you, he told me what they told him, and I just went, Chris, that's complete crap. There's nobody in this people that are going to talk to you that are anything like that. And he is willing to wait until you can get another link.
Beautiful. Awesome. Hell yeah.
Just hearing him talk, you feel how genuine his spirit is, and it's just so nice to actually hear him, and share it with the community. It just means so much.
Comment who you think the disinformation agents were in the comments of this space.
Great question.
No, that is not a great question. Is it? You don't want to start
Not for Chris, but for the comments, why not?
Because that starts singling people out that might not be guilty of anything, that are just going to get attacked for no reason, maybe?
That's true, Logan. The voice of reason, but maybe in another space. I think everybody probably after hearing Chris, I think if they were not already protective of him before and hearing about his story, I think everybody's probably going to be overprotective now. If anybody tries to say anything negative, I think our community will probably jump.
There is a
What? You cut out, Size Bob.
and some people told it. And that's where the what kind of person it would be got told to him, because they knew of the problems the group had.
Angela and Red Panda, did you hear what Science Bob was saying? Because he cut out.
No, he cut out for part of that. Yeah, Science Bob.
Yeah, I just heard the very tail end about you were saying that somebody had told him about the problems that we're having in the UFO community, and I'm so glad you brought that up from what I heard, Science Bob, because all these little quarrels that we have here on the spaces. This is why I stress that the drama is not good for our community, because when we do have an opportunity to have a guest on, they're not going to go to a space that doesn't have a good reputation or a community that is notorious for treating people like shit. So
Yeah, I can tell you, I've gotten where if there's a UFO, let's say, or other kind of anomalous activity group that I might be interested in, I put it on anonymous and I listen for a couple of minutes. And if there's a bunch of hell raising going on, I leave. And Chris got subjected to a bunch of that stuff in the early days, and he left. this is very good for us, not only for Chris, but other people, to have these respectful spaces where we can hear from actual people that are important to the things we are interested in without them being accosted. You don't have to believe every word they say, just be respectful.
That is so true. And it makes our community look bad. Like when people, I understand people have some skepticism, but people end up looking like assholes when they come on and we have somebody who's a potential, whistleblower or, guest, and then they come on asking these questions that they think makes them sound so intelligent, but it doesn't. It makes them just look like an asshole.
Yeah, yeah, I get it. Yeah, well, look, I mean, I told Chris, look, consider the source. You know what that group went through. They hired a really bad actor, and he had a felonious record of doing really bad things. And so, anybody who's told you that that's you're going to run into, I assure you, you are not going to run into it. And Logan can tell you, I sent him a message ahead of time, said if this person or any of his socket puppet account shows up, just drop him from the space. And there we go. Because I mean, we don't need people like him around.
And in this community, you are so right. It's time to change the tone. If we're ever going to have disclosure, if we're ever going to make any real difference for what our cause is and support these people who are out here sharing their story, then we need to start not accepting a certain behavior.
Well, the thing I want people to understand, people are now hearing from Chris what is starting to rumble around all over the place. Every time he goes someplace in public, he is now putting on these orb demonstrations. Now he's going to be on all sorts of media, the Beyond Skinwalker Ranch. He's got this book, which is a bestseller. He's going to be on other major things we are going to be able to stream, documentaries, etc. And everybody and their brother is going to be able to see this stuff happening if they here's what I suggest. If you are truly interested in seeing what Chris has happen around him, find a place that advertises he's going to be there and show up, and I guarantee you'll see it.
Maybe he'll even do it on a Twitter space one night.
I I would have to ask him and see if he was willing, but that I don't want to speak for him. So I want people to understand my name's Science Bob because I am a scientist. Whereas Chris is concerned, I don't need science. I already believe because I know. So I don't do science where Chris is concerned.
I'm so glad that you also decided to co-host Science Bob because I think that helped Chris feel comfortable. I think he knows that with you being here, like you're not going to let anybody treat him disrespectfully.
Well, I had to talk him into it. So just he was very reticent, and I talked him into it, and I'm just so grateful that this has been a positive experience because Chris got you people cannot begin to understand what he went through from 2007 until 2012. He was utterly ostracized by his church and his community. And this is the guy that grew up in a faith-based community in a small church from the time he was an infant, and suddenly they ostracized him. And then that stupid moron from MUFON came out and had the Discovery Channel or whoever it was make a complete horrid destruction video about him and send it everywhere, and his story got totally distorted. He's been through it, and it's time for the he's been through it to end.
Hey, Science Bob, I sent the invite link to you, so you can go ahead and pass that over to him.
Well, and that's why I'm so grateful that he did decide to come and join us. I don't think people really understand. Like, I was like biting my fingernails, like, I hope he, doesn't decide not to do it because of negative experiences. But I also want him to know that, we can be a source of support for him, and a strong support. He's not out there all alone. Like, you know, all he has to do is, know that we're here and we support him.
All right, I sent him the link, and I told him how many people were listening. He was wowed.
How many people are listening?
It's almost 400.
Fun times.
Sorry, yeah, it's dropped a little bit. It's 200 and something now, but this is a good space.
Okay, we got him back on the lower. Just a moment.
And he was happy. This was going well, and he agreed instantly to wait the 9 minutes and come again.
Yeah, Chris is right here with us again. Hey, what's up, Chris? Sorry for the disconnect. Can you hear me? All right, so yeah, we're just right back where we left off.
Great. This question is from Triggy. Carl Nell recently acknowledged Paul Hellyer and Chaim Eshed, who said the NHI have agreements with the government, including a non-interference clause, but they are working with individuals. Do you think the NHI are working through you or are part of a Galactic Federation? Have you heard of the Galactic Federation from the Lady or the Ashtar Command or any kind of greater galactic entity?
That is totally out of my swim lane. I'm in my circles with people I run with, and this goes for some very top brass. They kind of snicker at that. When they hear that, it becomes funny to them. So, it's confusing to me, but I don't have any experience there and really don't know what to say. My experience is with this totally something conscience based, and I haven't run into any Galactic Federation. I mean, that sounds like Hollywood to me, but I don't know. It's just I can't help you there.
Chris, can you give the people any updates on, I believe a movie is in the works about you, or at least your book? Do you have any information on that?
Yeah, well, I can't release anything there. It's all in the works. I met with them in LA this week, and yeah, it's happening. It's just whenever that happens, it happens, and I try not to get involved with that and worry about it, because that's something that takes a while to develop, and it's just but it's happening, and it's with some pretty amazing people that everybody would know if I said so. But that's all I can say there.
Yeah, don't jinx it.
Oh, I'm not. Good word to say.
Panda?
Another community question is, do you have any thoughts on AI and the phenomena and disclosure? And have you heard anything maybe from the entities about AI?
Not from the entities, but from the people that's creating it. I happen to be friends with a lot of those guys. In fact, I just spent the weekend with somebody who's in charge of developing one avenue of it, and I don't know what to think there. Everything we talk about with that is all speculation. People have wild ideas, and they speculate about it, and for a lot it becomes, oh my God, this is going to happen, it's real, and we really don't know where it's going to go. I think it's going to be part of our future whether we like it or not, and it could turn into a pretty harsh thing for humanity, or it could turn into something that becomes a friend to everyone here. So I don't know.
Hey, about that, can you describe maybe some of the visions that you've seen of the future?
Yeah, I really don't get into that a whole lot. In fact, I may put some of that in my next book, which is underway right now. And but I was shown images of devastation and of a lot of things. In fact, one of the things I put in writing in 2012 about this date, 2026, was that Israel would bomb Iran. And hundreds and thousands of people knew I said that. And you won't believe how many has written me or called me this month saying, my Lord, you were right. You were right. I said, well, they'll do it 4 times. This is just the first time. So where that leads, I don't know. I didn't see where it went past that, other than I saw the sky ignite with orbs. And then I was awakened from this whole vision they gave me. It was like it was cut off at that moment. So where it goes, I don't know, but I saw it and I put that out there. And it amazed me when I heard the news here just a month ago.
Do you think those orbs are like a, there's this guy named Patrick Jackson who has this theory that these orbs are like a planetary defense system. Do you think they act in that kind of way?
I think they definitely will. Some intelligence that is probably tending to every living thing, like a steward of a terrarium that we call Earth, or a matrix that we think is real, which is not. I mean, your grandma and your grandpa and your great relatives are watching us from the other side saying, boy, I sure hope he goes this way and not that way. And they're cheering for us to come through this strange world we call home, Earth. I mean, in the span of 1,000,000 years, our 80 years we live here is in a blink of an eye. And what did it mean? What did it matter? You know, this is not the real. The eternal world is beyond us, where there's no time, and we don't die. We just go to the other side. And I have a lot of evidence to show you that there are people and children and animals floating in of light all around us, watching us as we go through this place of suffering. For most, is suffering. A lot of people, it's hell. Is this hell we're in? I wonder.
I was going to just add really quickly, Chris, that when I came and visited and we went through so much, maybe all of your evidence, a lot of it anyway, I saw a lot of pictures of orbs with animals, aliens, people, etc., in the heart of them.
I don't know why I'm able to get those, but it was something that I can't explain, that they just tend like they want to let me see them. And so I've been able to film them for going on, well, since about 2012, when the lady came. Before that, 5 years before, I could share it with only my children. My wife would see it in the house, but the minute somebody strange come over, it would disappear.
Or if
I tried to film it, wouldn't let me.
or if you tried to film it, they would fry your camera.
Still have that camera. They fried a brand new Panasonic camera. I mean, fried it. And but after the lady came, she told me, she said that I'd quit. I said, I'll never do this again. I'm not talking about it. My children have been persecuted because of me. I've set them back. They were little young teenagers wanting to date in school. My boys, and my daughter was 10, and they were coming home crying. And it wasn't the phenomenon doing this. It was the flipping people, the judging, and the fear mongering. Oh, your dad's messing with the devil himself. Look at what he's doing to these children. I heard it. I lived it. And so I went out and said I quit. And that very night I did that is when everything changed. This beautiful spirit, to me, is much greater than anything we can imagine. The Hathor, or Met, being the same entity, is just the creation mother. You know, like Mother Earth, or like the Holy Spirit. And this figure comes to the Indians as a white buffalo calf lady, or to Fatima as as they called her, the Virgin Mary, although I don't think they had a clue who she really was, because she's always been here. It's been coming from, if you study, as I have with religious scholars, one thing we know is that 900 or 800,000 years ago, some being here on Earth, some human type figure, decided to create an image of God, and it was of a lady. So the oldest known depiction of God is a woman, and she's always been there. The second oldest depiction is the Ullendorf figure. It's 50,000 years old. It's of a woman. It was only 2,000 years ago when man come along and created this big boys club, kicked the women out, made them wear things over their face, and became disgraced. And still to this day, they're being oppressed. But it's a new age, and it's the rise up of the divine feminine that's going to change this world. And there's nothing nobody can do about it. And that's basically what she told me. And so we'll see where it goes. I think there's going to be some struggles, but when the dust settles, there'll be a time of peace here. It's just my 2 cents without preaching too much about it.
Go ahead, Panda.
Great. Here's a question from Estimate of the Situation. He wants to know if, in your contacts you made with the intelligence community and UFO investigators, have you ever seen any footage of like a typical gray alien in captivity? And do you have any thoughts on gray aliens?
I've never seen the footage of that from anyone until. Here's the thing: most people don't get. You know, there's a small group you can count on one hand that has the secrets, that has access to this. Everything else is all speculation. It's all I heard this person say, or this person said that, or I saw 40 witnesses that said this, but there's no proof nowhere. They haven't developed or given us that. And so until that happens, I put zero stake in any of it. Are there gray aliens? There may be. I just haven't seen that. A lot of people say they see them, so I'm sure it's something there. What is it? I don't know. It could be a number of things. I'm sure there's all sorts of life around us in an invisible realm that we cannot see. And I mean trolls, I mean gnomes, little people, magical beings, maybe even Bigfoot is involved in that. It's just a bigger world than we can. We're just starting to crack the surface of something that's so. It's like looking at a pond. You see that big pond and full of water and little fishes and all these plants and bushes. But when you take a drop of that water and put it under a microscope, it's just life all the way into infinity. It's just there in mass numbers, and it's like that everywhere. We've just been blind to it, and we're fixing to be awakened to something that is, who knows what we're going to discover here. I know that scientists, the more that they claim, well, we can create life. Well, no, they can't. They keep saying these creationists, we can create life in a laboratory. Well, no, they can't. It's totally untrue. They can't get there without using existing stuff we have here. So it's just the whole, and the more they know this, the more they study on the molecular level, the less they know. So I don't know where it's going, but I know it's just going to be an amazing new science, new world, new consciousness that's coming. So that's my 2 cents on all of it. I don't put much stake in some alien coming here and landing on the White House and saying, hello, here I am. And I don't think that'll ever happen, ever.
I added in the nest a picture of the gray alien that Lala and I took in the backyard, and it was 6 feet away from us. So I don't believe it's going to show up on the White House lawn, but I do believe it'll show up to people.
Very well could.
And I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you in a text, Chris.
Okay. If they come in light You know, what I experience comes in orbs of light. And all sorts of living things comes in that manner. From, you know, these pictures I have of animals and dogs or people or just all sorts of life around us. You know, I don't have those answers. I don't know where to begin. I just want to document it.
Are the entities themselves, are they like inside of these orbs?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how it works, because I have a video of an orb approaching me from about 6 foot away. And there was a whole group of people there watching it. You know, this thing flies right up to me and 2 other people. And when it flashes, and we're talking an orb the size of your fist or maybe a softball, it comes up about 6 foot away. It's spinning. They're always rotating. And it flashes. And when it does, out steps a 6 or 7 foot tall glowing white figure and helps this young lady that was dying with lung cancer. And she's cancer free. This was in 2015 when I took that video, or when we took it. And so yeah, they're in the orbs until the orb flashes. Then they're out of the orb, and the orb is inside these figures, these translucent beings.
There was a
There
was a picture Chris had that we used in his 2020 talk, that there was an orb that flashed behind Lori Wagner when Chris and Lori and her cameraman were walking through a place near where Chris lives, and an arm came out of the orb when it flashed. That was pretty amazing.
6 foot tall and about 10 foot away, we filmed it with that same picture. Of course, it was smoke. You know, there's always this smoke that appears.
Yes. So if you'll look at that picture, Chris, what's happening is you'll see that smoke that I see the smoke, and in it you can see the entity. So I agree with you.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, the orbs are the beings.
And I have this picture,
and it can be more than one.
I have a picture of this girl. She had her camera in her hand, or I guess maybe a phone, and she'd be having these experiences. And so one of these nights, she took a photo as an orb had approached her, and right as she snapped the photo, you can see like the entity kind of popping out of this orb, like midway through, and it's super super real. Like you can see like the entity's eyes, and they're just super haunting. It's kind of weird to even look at. It's kind of spooky. But Red Panda, did you have another question, or actually?
This is from Fringe. She says, Chris, what do you think about abductions and people who have negative experiences with aliens or entities?
Well, I'm glad it's not me, and I feel sorry for anybody that has those experiences. You know, I don't know. That's not been my experience. My negative reaction's been from the people. It's not from the phenomenon. So you know, there again, I would be speculating anything I said there. And I've learned in this business to just stay in my lane. You know, just stay with what I know. I don't want to offend anybody. This is very real to people. And so I choose not to diminish or take away anything there, because I don't have any expertise in that alien world. It's more something magical that happens with me, and it happens out of the light, and it happens instantaneously. It can happen in several locations at once, and it's all a thought. So that's a whole different world than, you know, going to sleep and something comes in your sleep and nabs you up and does experiments on you. I haven't had that experience at all.
Has it like affected? When you were like a Christian man before all this happened, and like after these events happened, has it changed the way you perceive your higher power?
Well, yeah, but it doesn't mean I've changed my belief in my faith at all. In fact, I'm 1,000% stronger than I ever have been, but in a different way. It's pretty much like Jesus said when he came along. He was like, if you had the faith of a mustard seed, you can do better things than I can. You can make a mountain move by just speaking to it. What did he mean by that? And so I see the possibility in what he's saying. I see that we could rise up into something just so powerful if we only knew the shortcut or the truth to how to get there. But yeah, I'm stronger in my faith than ever. But I'm not advocating organized religion at all. I just see it as something much bigger and greater that I can't even wrap my head around. It's that amazing and that caring to where, I mean, what do you say? I've had 3 people write me this week in tears saying I can hear again, or, my there's no cancer, it's gone. Well, the doctors don't know what happened, and this kind of thing. So it's far different for me than this gray alien thing. So
Right. That makes sense. Angela, good to see you back here again. Did you have a question too, Angela?
Yeah.
Maybe she's been
Oh, I was so I'm trying to join you on Zoom. I don't know if you can add me. And yeah, the questions I had were from, I think Mistress asked about the lady, and that was asked. The other questions, I think the easiest thing is to post them in the Zoom chat, and I'm gonna let Chris see what people are asking, and he can answer them as he gets to them. And while I'm posting those questions, I did want to tell you, Chris, I know you might not remember, but briefly, we have talked about me mentioning to you being from the same community. And I know for years, this is a very small area where Chris and I are from. And he had the reputation for being able to see these orbs for years, like years before his book was out. And, people in the community may have given you a hard time at your church, but you've always been a legend where we are from, Chris. I don't know if you knew that or not.
I pretty much had to retreat into, we sold our home and moved to a small cabin on a pond that's gated, 15 acres with a gate coming in, because of, seeking, just to get away from all of that. That's one reason we're here. But I appreciate you sharing that with me. That means a lot. But yeah.
So yeah, Angela, I think you have it. I can see you in the Zoom call now, I think. So yeah, I think we're all good. Red Panda, go ahead.
This question is from James. Diana Pasolka has previously stated that Tim Taylor was Elon Musk's SpaceX advisor. Do you know if this is true?
Tim Taylor is the I introduced her to him, by the way. We were working 2-3 years together before she ever met him. But yeah, Tim is the head of all the launches, all of them. And Cape Canaveral now is just a government owned facility that all these space cowboys use or rent to send their rockets up. And Tim is the guy that controls them all, and there's for good reason. He's one of the the National Reconnaissance Office guys. And if you want to know who has all the information, it's those guys, along with a couple of generals. Other than that, everybody else is talking about Air Force and talking about all these people. The secrets are at the NRO, which is basically NASA, but they're joint CIA, Air Force, and NASA. These guys, and there are not many of them. But yeah, I wouldn't. He talks to all these people. Tim does. Yeah.
Do you think Elon knows about UFOs?
I think that he probably has been told a lot, just like everybody else, but not shown anything. And then again, on these launches, you know what the NRO does, right? This is what people don't get, is they watch every launch. They're the eyes on the sky. In other words, the mission control is full of people, but there's only one guy in there, or two, that gets eyes on that rocket once it leaves the ground. They have ground-based cameras, something like you sit in World War II with guns that there a turret that rotates around and shoots, other planes or something coming in. Well, they're cameras, and they follow these rockets up till they basically don't have good eyes on them anymore. And up about 50,000 feet, NRO sends in what's called the WB-57, which is a high altitude surveillance platform that intercepts that rocket at about 50,000 feet and follows it until it leaves its site. And then up there about 100,000 feet comes the F-104 Starfighter, rigged with 7 different cameras on it that follows it as long as it can until the satellites take over. Well, who's manning all these satellites and these planes and these eyes on the sky? It's the NRO. And that's who they are, and that's who and I would imagine Musk, being he owns these rockets and he's shooting them up, that he has access to some of that video. There's always something watching these rockets when they go up, always.
Well, he has thousands of Starlink satellites, and every one of them has a camera on it.
Yeah. But then again, it's like there are a billion cameras nailed on light poles. And I told this to some of these people that want to put sensors everywhere. I've been bombarded from everybody. I want to put sensors on your property. I want to put all these cameras. Or they go out and they put cameras on a mountaintop and they spend $1 million setting up these arrays and wonder why they're not getting any data. Very little. And it's the same thing. Every bridge, every corner, every light pole in town around the world has cameras out there, and they're not seeing anything. It takes the conscious connection to have it appear. It's not by accident, any of it. And that's, yeah, I'll leave it there.
That's fascinating. Yeah, it's I think that's like the real big D disclosure is that it's not about the little green man and the flying saucer, but it's more about the having to do with the fundamental nature of our reality and our conscious connection with it, which I think is really the thing. We lost Justice again. Well, she's still in the chat, I think, in Zoom. Anyway, Red Panda, do you have another question?
Yes, this one is from Jonathan Caruso. He says, does Chris recommend people try to summon orbs and communicate with them? If so, what protocol does he recommend?
I don't like the word summon because you can't summon them. That's a negative connotation. If I went out there with any ritual, well, I tell these guys that's doing CE5, quite a few of them in Contact the Desert this weekend. If you know what you're dealing with and you have that connection, you don't need to do anything. All you got to do is think about it. I walk outside and I say I'm here, and instantly or within a few minutes, here they come.
because I put out consciously with one simple thought that I'm here, and come hang out with me. So it's a relationship. It's not that I got to go through some ritual and some meditation and there's chanting and all that. All that tells me is that you're going to get a spark here, a little flash there, or a little something, because you may have 50 people out there. It's the collective between everybody that's so strong. But you'll never make that connection until you understand it's a dog that you're looking at and not a fish. So if you're trying to call a fish, you're not going to get the dog. It's that simple. It's an understanding of what it is, and that makes it come for me. But I don't like the word summon, but I think we all have the the capability. We can all go out and talk to the heavens, ask for guidance, ask for them to come. And if you're a bit afraid, it's not going to come. If you're doubtful, if you have a lot of doubt and you're not sure, or if you're skeptical, you don't stand a Chinaman's chance. I found that out for real. It's the people that are ready and willing, that accept it, that have success. It's these brainy guys that say, "Oh, it can't be. It can't be." Well, it's not going to be for you. You're just going to lose out because you let your skepticism get in your way. So it's not about summoning. It's about figuring out what it is and how to connect. But if that works for you, give it a shot.
Have you noticed that it comes like for you, like it came to you like during this very emotionally charged time you're having, right? Have you noticed it comes especially during those times?
Well, I can tell you this for 100% back. And I've been shouting it for 18 years. When I first came out telling this, I told MUFON and the UFO world they were angels. Well, they laughed me out of the park. And for the next 10 to 12 years, everybody in the UFO world laughed at me and said, "We just can't deal with him." And they ostracized me. They pushed me away. All the while, I'm dealing with NASA, people from NASA and people from the government. And I wanted to shout to the rooftops, but I couldn't. But yeah, yeah. Sorry about that. I get sidetracked sometimes.
That's okay.
Because of the dealing with the now everybody's saying, "Oh, well, it is conscious connected. It is spiritual." Watch, everybody's going to change to that. And for the last 17 and a half years, I've been shouting it with a lot of people, laughing and ostracizing me. But it's my turn now. Everybody's starting to see that it's conscious based, that it's a spiritual connection. And not saying there's not aliens out there. I'm sure they're coming too, but it's not my experience.
Yeah, what's that saying? I think it's something like first they call you like crazy, then they like believe you, then they know it's true. I forget how the saying goes, but
yeah. It's been a long struggle. Me and my old friend Grant Cameron, whom I really think a lot of, when we first met in 2013, he was all about nuts and bolts, and I told him all them years, and I think he's finally, along with all his following, has come to that conclusion that I was right way back then. And but it's a knowing. When you know something, you know it, and when you experience it enough, there is no going saying anything or appeasing anybody. I could never. I just took the licking and went on about my business, but never wavering from what I know. This experience of mine is, and it's magic. It's something that'll appear like when you think about it, poof, right in front of you right then. I mean, in an instant, it's here. And it comes to that connection, thought connection.
Oh yeah, I found it. It's First they call you crazy, then they call you dangerous, then they say they knew it all along, and it's just about capturing the progression of how people react to revolutionary ideas, I guess.
Yeah, I see it everywhere now. All these scientists are getting saying, "Oh, we've figured it out. We've got it under control now. We've figured it out. It's conscious, it's spiritual." And I just think how hard it was for so long pushing that against all the criticism, but the satisfaction of hearing others realize this is just so gratifying. That all we can do now is just push forward and figure out more and more and document more about it. Hope one day in our future generation they get a lot closer to it than us.
Just for everybody's information, I shared to the people who are doing this my permanent Zoom link so it won't time out.
Oh, okay, sweet. Red Panda, go ahead.
Yes.
Oh,
Hi, Chris. Previously, you've stated that you were investigated by OSAP, I believe. Can you speak on how that kind of came about and like what did the investigation like entail?
Well, I can just tell you I've been involved with these people. I don't know what their investigation entailed, but they've always been there. They've always been in the background, and it's just not just them. We're talking to DIA and the DOD and the Air Force and U.S. Naval Intel, and all these people have had their experience here with me, or have been very close to me with this. I've shared it with CIA members in person. I've shared it with DIA. I'm talking senior service, brigadier general people, this kind. So it goes all the way up to totem pole. And what they conclude or say, they never share with me. They just come here. I mean, I had somebody from the DIA here saying, "Oh, you got to be creating this. It just can't be real. You must be doing this with your mind." And I'm like, "Okay, we'll see." And when it started talking to her in front of her children and her husband and her mom that came from Italy, uh, it wasn't long they left from here different people understanding, oh my God, it's not what I thought. So, what they've concluded, I don't know. But I know they know it's real, and a lot of them have experienced it with me. A lot of them. And I open the door for them all the time. I mean, I'm constantly dealing with academia or someone involved in researching this thing.
Panda,
So
go
this
ahead.
is from Steve, and he says, please ask Chris if he knows about 10 NASA astronauts that have also seen the lady.
I haven't heard a specific number about that. I can tell you that I heard my wife ask Dr. Pobenmeyer. He was at NASA for 60 years there. He was there before it was NASA with Werner von Braun. Helped me, and he worked with him. He was on Project Mercury. But my wife asked him one night, "How has any other astronauts ever seen, UFOs?" And he looked at her and he smiled. He said, "All of them, all, not one, but all." So
Yeah, I don't know.
as far as
People
the lady, I can't answer that. I don't know, but I do know that there's reports they've seen angels in space, and they're very big, tall. Some of them reported 100 feet tall.
Oh yeah, I've heard about that case. Was that a Russian one, perchance? I think maybe that happened too.
Yeah, and it was somebody from space NASA that told me about that. So
That's
it's a
incredible.
friend from there.
Angels in space. That's awesome.
Chris, Shelley Montgomery says, thank you for talking about the smoke. It's affirmation for her.
Right. Yeah. I figured that out a long time ago because kept seeing it. It would fly by me. I learned that you could take an IR illuminator like you would, on your camera IR thing on your option. You have one.
Yep.
But you can take that red light, you can shine it, and you can see the smoke. But even when you can't see it with your eye, you'll see it really, really easy with the smoke. I learned it with a point and shoot little tiny pocket camera. You mash the shutter halfway, and it casts out a little red beam. That's when I first saw it fly by me. I thought,
That
what was
explains
that?
that explains what we saw with that smoke and the gray looking thing in front of us, because my Canon camera does that infrared laser beam, LiDAR, whatever you want to call it, for autofocus, and that's what we saw with our eye before the camera took the picture. Thank you for explaining that.
I learned that a long time ago. You can see a lot at night with that. You can't see with your eye. It illuminates it.
I got a question here from a Zim. He says, ask if Pasulka was originally going to do her book based on you and name it Nephilim, and did she change her opinion after interviews with him?
No, not true. I still have the manuscript. There were two of them. The first one, she wanted to call it Seraphim, which is the highest order of angels, called the burning ones. So she's correlating the orbs of fire with the highest order of angels, called the Seraphim. But we couldn't agree on the script or the way it was being written, so we changed it to another. So we started a completely new book. We set Seraphim to the side, and there was reasons I don't want to talk about there, but so she started over calling it the Cape Fear Prophecy, and we got about halfway into that, and nobody in the publishing world would touch me. They all treat me like the plague, and so she went on after I introduced her to Tim Taylor. That's where her focus didn't stop with me and went off to write the book she did, which is okay. We all agreed to it, and but it was never about the Nephilim. And in fact, I implore everyone listening to go in the King James Bible or go anywhere in the Bible and find the word Nephilim and figure out what it means, because it's not in there. It's not in there. And the scripture in Genesis 6 where it says, and the angels came into women and made giants, that's not true either. It's all not true. The scripture says, and there were giants in the land in them days, and also after the sons of God came into the daughters of man. It was the children of those that became of the sons of God. It was the children of them that were of great renown and lived to be very old age, like Methuselah. So the giants were here before, and they were here after. It's plain as day. Anybody can read it and see it. But people have taken it and turned it into a negative thing and made giants that are eating people because they come from angels. Well, angels are spirits. The Bible completely tells you they're ministering spirits. They're not human. They're not able to have sex with people. So if they, it's like Mary when she had Jesus, an angel came and spoke and said, "You're going to have a baby." So it was much more like that than some, spirit coming down and having sex with a person and creating angels or giants that are eating people. It's all misinterpreted. It's all based on a Enoch, a book that was written like 100 years before Jesus was born. It's not a very old text. So there's just so much misinformation out there. that is pathetic.
Somebody wanted me to ask about if you feel a kinship with Edgar Casey, and if so, if you can share.
Well, I've been taught about him a lot. I've never been to his place, but I've read up on him. He had an experience with the lady, which changed his whole life, and I feel that connection there. Yeah, that he had a special connection. We gave him an ability to foretell the future, and I can tell you, until I met the lady, I had none of this was happening for me that I could control or that I could help others, or at least be a facilitator. I don't do anything. If people are getting better, it's because the phenomenon gives them hope, maybe, and does the job. It sure ain't me. I'm just a messenger trying to figure it all out.
Fair enough. Hey, Red Panda, did you have a question?
Yes, it's from Ursula and Chizzy. So yeah, you previously mentioned the connection with like the white buffalo lady, and they were just wondering if you've spoken with any Native American people about this kind of connection, and if you have any like deeper thoughts about this connection.
And maybe relate the story of the tribe coming and doing the ceremony on your property. That was interesting.
Oh, yeah, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, well, I'm deep rooted into the Native American culture around me. The Tuscarora tribe is only 20 miles away, and I was born there in that community. Although I'm not Native American, I grew up with these people. My dad worked, literally 100 of them, and I've had the opportunity to meet, some pretty amazing people from the Navajo Nation. I was just this weekend with John Dover and Stanley from the Navajo Rangers, and in fact, we're working on some things together. But the lady has always been in their culture. It's like Mother Nature, or a harbinger of somebody coming in to warn you that the trouble's coming. So that's the whole thing about the lady. They know, the leaders in this world know, when she comes, she's giving them information about something that's about to happen, and they want to know. And so there's a reason she came. I think we're all feeling it in the world right now. There's, they're talking World War III and all that kind of stuff. That's why she came. I'll straight up tell you, she came in 2012. She warned about what we're doing right now. And she also said we're going to wake the people up. And that's happening. And it's happening on a extreme, exponential momentum that there's no stopping it. And I think the governments are trying to get out in front of it. And they're going to do their best. But it's just going to all come down without anybody having any control over how it all comes out. It's totally driving the bus completely. The phenomena is in total charge. It lets us go, it gives us a rope or a string, but when it gets to be a certain to a certain spot, where it is right now is stepping in and is starting to affect people in a way that I can't understand.
Yeah, it's the phenomenon. Red Panda, did you want to go again? I have a question here first, though, maybe real quick. It's from maybe that's not important. He says, I'd love it if you'd ask the following question. During both your interviews on that UFO podcast and the Danny Jones podcast, you stated that the Australian Department of Defense had engaged you directly. Could you kindly confirm how many people from the Australian DoD engaged you, and if he, she, they were acting in an official capacity or purely personal?
Well, it was one particular person, and he was at the top, as high as it gets into that realm. And he didn't call me as a personal matter. These people never do anything personal. It's all about finding out what they can find out. And, you know, I have the Chinese people on me. Even, and I was warned. I've been warned about all these governments are watching me, all of them, not one, but all. And I would think something's mighty wrong if we can't understand why our country wouldn't be looking into this kind of thing. Because they are. It's top priority in every government. They just don't act like it. But I promise you, everybody's interested, including Australia, the British government. They're very interested. And if they wasn't, I'd wonder why. But yeah, who I can't say. I don't want to say, but I can tell you they're very interested, and they over several months I conversated with them continually, either by phone or by text. It was nearly every day for the longest time. You know, trying to get all the information they could get. Talking the intelligence world is a big thing. And I guarantee you there's a dozen of them listening right now or more in this group.
I like
okay.
Chris, let me relate one story if you don't mind. So to give you an idea of the level of interest, Chris has a picture of uh, a paper napkin sitting on top of an envelope, and the envelope is covering most of Chris's address, which I recognized immediately, and the napkin has the presidential seal on it and the demarcation of Camp David. There's only one person in the world who can have that kind of napkin. And to go to Camp David, you have to be invited by that person. And that was taken in the year when Obama was president.
Damn, that's wild.
And I, by the way.
Still have that napkin? Wow.
Oh yeah, I do. It was given to me as a gift to, for the briefing that went on.
Somebody named Tyler might have taken it up there.
So it goes.
I mean, that was the day I knew that Chris was being listened to, because it is a thing that will be investigated by the Secret Service if you fake that thing.
And I've had dealings with them, especially in the first chapter of my book. If you haven't read my book, do so. It tells all these questions that are being asked. A lot of those are answered in this book, especially about the Pope and coming to Philadelphia. That's the very first chapter, and that was dealing with Secret Service. They got involved in that, so, and they would have to.
Yeah, often when heads of state visit the United States, they get Secret Service protection, and the Pope is a head of state.
Yeah. Let's just say there's been senators here too, more than one, that have experienced this phenomenon with me. So it's much bigger than anybody can imagine. And all these I have on speed dial. I call them right now, text them, and yeah.
Has Governor Jesse Ventura been out there?
Say again?
Has Governor Jesse Ventura, has he been out there?
I haven't met him yet, but no.
That'd be interesting. Red Panda, go ahead.
We got some questions from the audience that are curious about what's going to be in the next book and when they can expect it.
Well, I'm working on it now. I'm going to expand more on the lady and more on, there was things that I just didn't have enough room to include in the other book that I think should be in the second one. And there's a whole lot there that's coming out. Involvement with some universities and just more stuff and a lot more about what I was shown and told. All that'll come. And I hope within the next, 8 months, maybe, I can have it ready to publish. It's just a monumental task writing a book. To get it from paper to market is a hard thing. And it took a lot of work, a lot of effort to get it there. But the next one will be a lot easier because I already have all the people I need in place. And they've already agreed to do the second. So it's in the process right now. It's in the works.
When you do your book, do you actually write it all out by hand?
Yeah, I wrote every bit of it on a cell phone.
On a cell phone? Oh, nice.
Yeah. I go out every night and I look up at the heavens and I'd ask for the knowledge and the words to say, to write, that it might open the eyes of the people. I get up every morning at 6:30, make coffee. I go sit right back down and I start writing. And I did a chapter every day or two, maybe 3 days, but usually about 2 days it would take me to write a chapter. And maybe 3 by the time I edited the whole thing.
Nice.
And then it was off to
inspired.
Yeah, exactly it was. And I never had an idea that it would take off like it did. And it has really been amazing how well it has sold and is still selling. It's blown a lot of minds around me, and I'm just very thankful. All I can say, it was definitely divinely inspired. And I'll give it to the phenomenon. It wasn't me.
It's very humble of you. Red Panda, go ahead.
Okay, here's another question from the community. So recently, a member of the community saw orbs, and then they say they've been seeing them multiple days in a row now, and that it seems to react to when they say their name and they filmed it. So what do you think is going on there, and any advice for people who are seeing orbs?
Well, it's a conscious connection. Realize that. It's not here to hurt you or eat you. It's not going to do that. If it did, if it had that intention, we'd all be gone many years ago. It's there, and if you understand it and you let it will bless you. That's what I've found. And it'll bless others around you. It makes things happen. It's like it's driving the bus. You know what the word abracadabra means, right? Does anybody know what that means when you say that? Like Harry Potter waves his little wand, he says abracadabra. Well, I always wondered what that meant. And I found out it means I manifest what I speak. So that force, that world has known this secret forever. And now that secret's coming to everyone in a positive way. You don't have to sell your soul into some dark world or dark force to have things to manifest your own reality in the world. And that's what this phenomenon does, and does very efficiently and well if you allow it to. If you do, once you make that connection, this magic starts happening. Pure magic, and I see it every day. Just blows my mind. I'll give you an example. I just was gifted a whole bunch of camera gear. I mean, 3 cameras into thousands of dollars worth of stuff. Well, they brought a Pelican vault case. You couldn't even hold all the stuff they bought, and brought it here. It's a gift. So I went out just before contacting the desert last week. It was a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, before I left to LA. It was on a Monday, Tuesday, I started researching camera cases. I need a new case. I need another Pelican vault. Which one do I need? I need a specific one that's deep enough to hold this, $5,000-6,000 camera, one of them. So I researched and everything I could find was $300 to $400 for a plastic case, right? And I can't afford that. And so I went to Harbor Freight on Tuesday morning or Monday evening, and I bought a $50 knockoff. And when I got it home, I set it on my bed. I just decided I'm gonna use this thing. So I take out this big camera and I lay it in that Harbor Freight $50 case, and something spoke to me and said, "You're gonna put a $6,000 camera in a $50 box?" And immediately I heard it so clear, and it was the phenomenon speaking to me, that I took my camera, put it back in its box, stuck it away, closed the Harbor Freight lid, and set it to the side. Next day, I'm on an airline going to LA. I got to LA on Tuesday night, stayed in Beverly Hills, and then Wednesday morning, I was at Contact in the desert. Wednesday evening. Thursday morning, I wake up, and this dear lady that I met on Instagram writes me. I've never met her other than on Instagram. She says, "Chris, I have a hobby to where I enter sweepstakes every day. And I just won this Pelican case. And it's still in the box. And it's the kind that you put nice cameras in. I thought about you. Could you use some?" Case was sitting in my front yard waiting on me. And I took the $50 one back today to Harbor Freight. It's totally random, totally out of the blue. And that's the way the phenomenon works. And anybody listening, you can take that to the bank. What I'm saying, that's how it interacts. It's not like anything you can imagine. It will bless you. So I got that case without buying it. Amazing.
I mean, God blesses those who are walking the right path, I guess. Science Bob or Red Panda, do you guys have more questions? I know I have one more question, I think, at least from, I guess it doesn't matter who from, but she was asking about NASA. She said, "Why is there a large 9-foot tall door at NASA? Is it for angels? And what is the black box that Tim Taylor said can read your mind that you walked by?"
Well, I don't know what that box is, but it was there. It's a booth. When you walk into Mission Control, that facility is the most, it's just the hardest facility, the most secretive, secure facility in the world, even more than the White House, they say. And so there's armed Air Force guards with machine guns standing at the gate. That once that gate opens, you're escorted with machine guns into that place. Well, to get in that door through the gate, you got to walk by a little hut where somebody or something is sitting inside. It's about 8 by 8 or 10 by 10 little black building with a flat roof with black glass on. You can't see anything but a black 10 by 10 cube there. And all I know, I was told to sing a song, and or they could read your thoughts. What does that mean? I don't know. I have no clue. I just thought it was pretty interesting and mind-boggling that they told me that.
That is wild.
Yeah. Yep. What it means, I don't know, but it was real, and I got briefed on it, and I got briefed 2 weeks in advance on it, and constantly told about, picking a song, which was "The Battle for Evermore" by Led Zeppelin.
All right, that's a great choice.
Yeah, I'm a Zeppelin fan.
Yeah, so Justice, Angela, welcome back. How's it going? Did you have more questions? maybe she was having some connection issues earlier. She had disconnected, so maybe she's back now. Or maybe not. Hey, Red Panda, did you have more questions?
I'll look into some more.
That same person was asking, why did he say does NASA have a room only a few hundred people have ever entered, and it has quote den mothers? Could children of NHI be watched while their parents are working the Space Force? Is there a space program for human kids? What is that about? They ask.
That building is called the Astronaut Crew Quarter. So if anybody ever remembers 1969 or in the 60s when they went to the moon, you'd always see these astronauts come out of a set of doors that had NASA over the top of them, carrying their respirator breathing machines, and they would enter into an RV, and it was a silver Airstream, which is still there. I got to see it. The ones that John Glenn and all of them rode from where they stayed to the launch pad. So, but that building is the crew quarters, and in that building, there's a lady that is called the Den Mother, and she's the only one allowed in there with a very small crew, including a doctor. And so, when the astronauts were heading to the moon or to space, they would go there and stay for 3 or 4 weeks and make sure they didn't have a cold or a sniffle. And it's in the movies. You can see it on Apollo 13 and so on. That same building. And it's such a secured facility, they don't let anybody in there. Only one president has ever been in that door. And no senators, no congressmen. And I was fortunate enough I got to go in there and sit in the chairs and where they put their suits on, and where their conference room was, and where they watched TV, and their bedrooms, and their families would be able to come, their children, and they would stay with their dad. Their wife and their kids would be with their dad until they left to go to the moon. And so, yeah, it's really.
And Chris is the only person I know that wasn't one of those people to ever go through those doors. I don't know of anybody else.
You're muted, Logan.
You there, Logan? Oops.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, I was just having some mic difficulties. I think we're back now, maybe. Hold on.
You're back.
Sorry about that. All right.
Angela's got a
Where did we
question.
leave off? Go ahead, Angela.
Hey, I just was wondering if you guys were able to ask those questions that I sent in the chat.
No, I didn't see the questions in that chat. Let me see. Or actually, Angela, can you hear me right now? Can you guys still hear me? I don't think you can you? Only Chris
I
can.
hear you.
Right?
I hear you just fine.
Yeah, I mean.
Oh, really? Okay. Let me try to see if Chris, do you see the questions in the chat? The questions in the chat?
No.
They should be in the like a cut and paste. Or now that I'm back online, I can ask them real quick if you guys want.
Go ahead.
Okay, so these were the questions that were sent earlier before I had my technical issues. This is from Patrick. He had an NDE and started getting orbs about a year or two after. He said when he experiences the orbs being close by, that he gets like an ear ringing before one of the orbs show up. And you mentioned, Chris, that you were able to sense them ahead of time, and he was wondering if you could ask him if you could describe the feeling you get when you see the orbs show up.
It's not an ear ringing. I don't know the best way to describe it other than telepathy. That I see images, and when I see the image, I get this feeling of electricity within my body. And maybe that comes because of the image comes, and I know what I'm seeing. But for example, if you watch the History Channel, one thing that the host on there says, how is it that he knows within a minute every day when they're going to show up? I tell the History Channel every night, still, even in the next 2 episodes you will watch, I would tell them tonight it'll happen at 6:45. So the director would say, okay, camera's rolling 6:30. 6:45, they show up. We were on the beach. I said 8:30 they would show up in April, and at 8:30 they did. And it's because all I did was think out loud, or think, out into the beings, projecting my thoughts outward, and they come back with an image, clock image, right? Immediately. It's that way. It's that type of connection. It's not an accidental thing. It's just when they come, they speak, and they speak in images, and sometimes it's a knowing that comes with the image, where most of the time it is. But they'll give me that time, and then I'll say, well, tonight is going to be 8:40. And sure enough, at 8:40, here they come. So, and I can get that time during the day. It don't have to be tonight. It could be at lunch today when they ask me that question. It's almost like I set the intention to be there at 8:30, and so they show up at 8:30. Oh, it's complex.
Let me add two things. I told her the story earlier of you feeling that they were visiting when you and John Alexander were standing outside the car, and it appeared right over your head, and John Alexander saw it. And when we were together, we were outside, it was dark, and you were having a little trouble with your neck, so you couldn't look up because you still had the rheumatoid arthritis then. But I was looking straight up, and I saw this purple aura in the sky. And the minute it disappeared, without me having said anything, you said, they're gone and we can go inside. I mean, it was just the last straw on me knowing you had telepathic contact with them.
Yeah, and John, and well, we proved that. We proved it on the History Channel, and that's what John was saying. That first time in history this was ever done, and in the UFO world, it went crickets, total crickets. The news companies, crickets. They don't want to give it any attention. But we, in fact, changed history that night on the History Channel by conducting an experiment with PhDs in neuroscience, to the equipment they had me wired to the cameras that captured it, to 17, 18 witnesses that saw it. This is how important it was, and it just got total crickets, and still is. But we're going to keep pushing until everybody knows.
I think we need to keep pushing these stories out. You your way, and the rest of us in this room who are doing it our way, and go around government, because they're not going to tell us the truth without being pushed, and they may never. We just find our own truth.
I don't think they ever can tell it because of the trouble it would take. First off, you're talking 4 branches of the government that's involved in this thing, and they all have to meet, get together, and have a giant meeting of, say, the Air Force to decide we're going to share it. Then they have to declassify it. Then it goes into Congress, and it's just never going to happen. It's just never going to happen. They can't. So you'll get it's real. We've got people that seen it. We got people that know about it. But as far as any of the rest of it, I don't think you're going to ever get it because you can't. It take too big of right. You understand it, Bob.
Yeah, just so you're aware of how serious I am taking these History Channel shows, I proposed 2 experiments to Eric Bard and Brandon Fugel to work out there in the Uinta Basin because of things I saw that will allow and that I know they can make measurements on and get the characteristics of the thing that's above the triangle. I'm telling you, both the History Channel shows, to me, from my outside observations and my interactions with them, they are real and they are doing actual science. And the TV show is not scripting the work they're doing.
No, they're doing science. I've been to Skinwalker Ranch. I've sat there on the pad with Brandon and with all of them. Travis, Eric. I'm friends with them. In fact, I may be back there this fall. Rumor has it. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm proposing 2 experiments to them now, and they're going over it to see if I can do it while during that. Maybe I'll see you, Chris. You've been going 3.5 hours.
Yes, you have.
Tired. So I appreciate you guys inviting me, Bob, Angela. But we'll have to do it again sometime. This is the first thing I've been public on in a long time. I've been kind of any media at all, but I
Well,
appreciate it.
that's what I was, I hope I didn't sound too pushy in the messages, but I knew once you got here and saw, like, that none of us are gonna disrespect you, and we totally respect you and respect how you want to be um interviewed or talked to, you know what I'm saying. And I just really can't stress that enough, and we would love to have more talks with you again. And one of the questions I didn't get to also was wondering if one day, if you would like to, maybe if you could do like space where you could maybe call some orbs so some of the UFO community here can see you be able to do it, and just kind of do that. But that's up to you. You think about it. We would love it, but
You're muted, Logan.
Night, and nobody's there yet, so the thing don't start to Friday. So Wednesday night and Thursday night, I'm with some folks out of DC, so I slept outside, and these orbs started appearing. And lo and behold, people driving up were filming it. But when they went to have their sky watch on Friday and Saturday night, they were begging me to come and do their C5, and I respectfully declined because, you know, it's a private thing for me. And I do invite people here. It's just something that I take very seriously. These things appears in the daytime as well. And some of these guys on research you talk about experienced that with me.
Chris, I have a person who's asking about when you left the property in 2007 and you drove by a particular place on the road that was of very significant proportions to you in your life. Do you mind if I tell them that story privately so we can just let you go? You're muted, Logan.
I'll leave this with one statement that in 18 years or nearly 18 years of my research, there is one common thread in all of it. And this is the common pattern that nobody really talks about, but the more it comes forward, this consciousness thing, the more we're going to learn that 99% of everybody that reaches out to me has either had a near death or severe trauma. They lose their mama, they lose their husband or their wife or their children. And suddenly orbs start appearing around them. That's a common pattern. The number one center of it all is trauma brings them through near death or just loss of a loved one or something pretty severe. So imagine, why would an alien care about that, about your feeling or your sadness? So it's so complex and bizarre, it's beyond our understanding, but that's a common thread, is trauma. And you can count that, take it to the bank. It's just that way.
You know, I know you are tired, and I'm sure you were ready to get off the space, but I just wanted to echo that you are absolutely right. Whenever I started re-experiencing things, it was after my mom passed, and I started seeing these stars in the sky, and they were shaped like, I guess they weren't stars at the time, but for me, I was trying to figure out what they were. But basically, it was these star-like figures in the sky that looked like angels, and it gave me hope after my mom just passed away. And so I totally understand where you're coming from, how they come, and after you experience it, it can give you that hope again because you feel that connection. And for me, I felt I was able to connect with my mother in some way. Not that I thought my mom was going to be a star, this was before she had passed, but that we were all connected, and we're all part of this universe in a much bigger picture than we could ever imagine. So yeah, I just agree with that so much.
Thank you, Chris. Unmute.
And I appreciate you having me. And
Yep.
we're going to, I guess, wind it down. I'm still on LA time, so man, I didn't know jet lag could be so tough, but it is. All this traveling.
I hope you get to rest some, brother. You've been on it for a long time.
You
And have a great
have.
night, and give Yvonne my best.
Thank you so much, Chris. We all appreciate you being here, and please get some rest. We hate that we kept you so long, but we were so intrigued with everything you had to say. We've really enjoyed the space.
Too, and we'll do it again. Just reach out and we'll plan something at a future point, maybe this fall, if
Awesome.
possible.
It's been a huge blessing. Thank you so much once again. Red Panda, did you want to say anything?
Thanks, Chris. It was awesome. Thanks, Science Bob, Logan, Justice, everyone here. Awesome times.
Right.
Good times. So, yeah. So thanks, Chris. I really, really, really appreciate it.
All right. Appreciate you guys. See ya.
Just let everybody know that this was helping to sensitize Chris to these spaces. I mean, he really had a brutal time of it. when he was on Twitter before. So thank you everybody for doing this, and we'll try to get it going where it'll be a little more interactive in the fall when he's ready.
And I just want to thank everybody here for, being so patient. I know that you guys are dying to talk to Chris and ask him questions, but, he shared his experiences, and this was the way we could get him on the space, which is a huge step because, when we told him about Twitter, he was really not having it, but I'm glad we did it. I'm glad he was able to experience you guys, and at least through questions, baby steps. It's all about what people are comfortable with. So if you ever have anyone who tells you that, whistleblowers are this, or, these people are that, it's definitely, if you are an experiencer and it is genuine, it is a very difficult situation at times. And, for us to just attack and question, guests is just, something we got to stop doing. And we got to hold other people accountable, because that if we ever want any people with any kind of name, we're going to have to change the way we talk.